Hi, everyone. I hope you guys are having a great week. This week, we're going to be talking about Chapter 6, which is Adolescent and Young Adult Victimization. So this is going to be including information about teen dating violence, things like that. So in this chapter, it talks a lot about resiliency and in contrast to vulnerability. It discusses forms of sexual offending against minors. It talks about the consequences of teen and college dating violence. And then it wraps up with talking a little bit about cyber dating abuse that we're going to talk about. So dating and family violence, as we have been talking about, have devastating effects on health and well-being of a person. There is evidence through the literature that there is an overlap of violence from adolescent to adulthood when adult-like decisions come from the perspective of youth. So we do oftentimes see kind of that carryover from teen dating violence into family violence. So there's many risk factors that come along with increased risk for adolescents who experience abuse, family conflict, rigid role expectations, substance abuse, body weight, behavioral issues, risky sexual behavior. Additionally, we see more populations who are vulnerable include individuals with disabilities, individuals with mental health disorders, and LGBTI youth are also at increased vulnerability. So when we talk about resilience, it's also often times called a protective factor. And so these are influences that promote positive outcomes for teens. One protective factor for youth is their own individual resiliency. And so that's the ability to adapt to an environment. Other types of protective factors include connectedness to family, connectedness to parents, school, religion, and other responsible adults. Youth with high self-esteem and social support are better prepared to protect themselves and experience higher resilience. And then additionally, access to mental health services or connection to a caring adult can also promote well-being. So LGBTQ youth are at higher risk of abuse than other adolescents. Compared to heterosexual teens, research has shown that young LGBTQ people are more likely to experience bullying and physical violence, which places them at a higher risk for suicidal thoughts and behaviors, sexual risk behavior, and substance abuse as well. More research just talked about during college years, gay and bisexual men report sexual assault at frequencies similar to heterosexual women, and bisexual women experience the highest level of sexual assaults. So child sex trafficking, this goes along with kind of child and adolescent victimization. So sex trafficking consists of when a child is recruited and then enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, patronized, solicited, or maintained to perform a commercial sex act. Oftentimes they use fraud or coercion. There are no exceptions to this rule. There's no cultural or socioeconomic rationales that affect what children are exploited versus not. So again, a lot of these different types of things. So they're recruited, they're groomed specifically for performing commercial sex acts. So child sexual assaults. We talked a little bit about this last week when we talked about investigating child abuse, and one of them is sexual assaults. So sexual assault against a minor is different from child sex trafficking because it doesn't include the economic gain that sex trafficking has. So it is a common myth that child sex abuse is rare, and it's a myth that it's perpetuated solely against girls. It is perpetuated against boys as well. Um, and the crimes of sexual assault, rape, pornography, and incest are perpetrated by men and women, strangers, and trusted friends and family members as well. Child pornography is another form of child sexual exploitation. According to the federal law, child pornography is any visual representation of a sexually explicit conduct involving minors under the age of 18. And then obviously federal and state laws prohibit the production, distribution, importation, reception, or possession of any image of child pornography. So if an individual experiences sexual assault, they can go in and receive assistance under the name of Jane Doe. You might have heard of Jane Doe reporting before. So he or she is able to get an exam with evidence collected anonymously. The reporter is not compelled to decide on whether to follow through with prosecuting or not. Oftentimes at a hospital, they have sexual assault nurses. So they call them SANE nurses, sexual assault nurse examiners, who are trained specifically to work with victims who have been sexually assaulted. They look for STDs, they look for any pregnancy concerns. The exam typically consists of hair samples, hair combing, fluids, documentation of bruising and marks if present. The Jane Doe option makes it possible for care and concern for the victim without law enforcement involvement. So again, if this is something that someone has experienced, they're able to go and still be able to receive and collect evidence through the Jane Doe reporting. So again, last week we talked a little bit about forensic interviewing when we talked about the child advocacy centers. A child forensic interviewer is a specialist who has been trained specifically to use techniques based on child development experts to create legal evidence and testimony based on the accounts of the child. So the interview protocol typically consists of 3 phases: introductory, rapport building, and then free recall of the events. Research has suggested that the approach increases the amount and quality of information that is elicited from child victims of abuse and neglect, specifically having a trained forensic interviewer doing the interviews. So teen dating violence specifically. So this has been known to happen in teens as young as 12 years old in relationships as early as 7th grade. Teen dating couples are even more likely to be violent than married couples. Poly-victimization refers to the co-occurrence of violence across multiple different types of victimization. And potentially at the hands of multiple perpetrators as well. Physical teen dating violence is also closely linked with child maltreatment, sexual victimization, and internet harassment. It's well known within the literature that both men and women experience physical assault within heterosexual dating relationships during the college years. There's a lot less known about violence among LGBTQ couples in college. So there's more research that's needed in that area. There's been numerous studies, again, regarding heterosexual relationships. 25% of heterosexual females have experienced sexual assault in college, whereas 12% of heterosexual males have experienced it. Gay and bisexual men report a rate similar to heterosexual women. 2 out of every 5 bisexual women have experienced sexual assault in college, and then 11% of lesbians. So again, this is all information that is known. There's still a lot out there that is not reported and unknown, unfortunately. So then date rape. So legally, there's no legal term as date rape. The legal term for it in Texas is sexual assault. And so it's increasingly predatory nature of rape is using date rape drugs by high school and college students. So drugs are commonly colorless and odorless. If you suspect, or if someone suspects that they have been drugged, it's recommended that they have their urine and blood tested within 24-hour period of that incident. And then additionally, all clothing and physical evidence should be kept as well. So cyber dating, this one is something that's becoming more and more, I would say more and more prevalent, but also more and more researched, and more information is coming out about this. So it's continuing to evolve as we expand more into the technology world. Injury using technology is often emotional and psychological. So frequent use of cyber controlling behaviors such as reviewing their phone calls, reading all text messages, monitoring all of their activities. Threats and humiliation may often happen as well through spreading rumors, insults, sexting images, threatening emails. Sexual forms of abuse include forced cyber sex. And then other information, again, as it's all coming out more and more, sexting is a common practice among youth today. It's defined as the production and transmission of explicit or sexually suggestive pictures via cell phones or other electronic devices. Minors engaging in sexting are particularly at risk because they can be at risk for child pornography charges, child enticement, disseminating obscenity, and harassment as well. So every state has different laws and regulations regarding sexting, and obviously there's going to be more and more coming in the years to come. So keep your eye out on those different laws. Stalking, we'll have another section just on stalking itself later on, but this is stalking among teens and college students. So it's the pattern of harassing or threatening tactics that are unwanted and may cause the victim to be fearful. Additional stalking includes cyber stalking as well, through harassing through text messages, emails, instant messages, websites. It's estimated that 1 in 34 women in the United States report being stalked before the age of 18. And then it occurs within college students as well. And again, with men and women equally likely to be the perpetrator of stalking. So I hope you guys have had a great week. Please, as always, let me know if you have any questions. And I hope to hear from you guys soon. Thanks so much.